I'm from Shepparton. That's my hometown. And the story profiled kids at two schools, which are actually the closest two schools to where I lived, where sadly these kids were arriving without food from home, and come lunchtime were simply missing out. And I just had no idea. Like Shepparton itself, I guess it does have a reputation for disadvantage, but I had never imagined that it was to the extent that kids were missing out on food. So that was when I was first made aware of the issue. And I guess the fact that it was happening in Shepparton, somewhere that you feel for, so I guess it sort of spurred me into action. And also because it is that sort of mid to small size country town, I just felt if I didn't do anything to try and help, it would be unlikely that circumstances would change anytime soon for those kids. It was just this thought that, look, if these kids don't have a lunch, if I just make some extra lunches at home and drop them off, could that even help? That was really the first thought. And I was really lucky. A friend and a mentor of sorts of mine, Lisa McKenzie, was the head of the Golden Valley Community Fund at the time. And I actually reached out to her first and sort of mentioned the article to her, and that simple idea that what if I dropped off some lunches? Could the schools even accept them? Would that help? And she said, look, she didn't know, but she did know the principals at those two schools very well, and that she would introduce me to them and also come with me to essentially put that idea to them. So it was just starting by making sandwiches on mum's kitchen table at home and pinching what I could from her cupboards, buying the rest. It was all quite affordable, just loaves of bread and some extra Vegemite or cheese. And then as we'd sort of learned, sadly, like I really didn't think beyond that first drop. It was actually the schools calling back fairly shortly after, saying, thanks, mate, we appreciate that, but just seeing when the next ones are going to be arriving, please. And I hadn't thought really of next ones. I probably should have, of course, but that's when I started to think, okay, how can we do this on an ongoing basis? I also started to research the issue of kids missing out on food at school more deeply across Australia, and was shocked to learn of a statistic at the time of 1 in 8 Australian kids arriving at school hungry every day. So, like I said, I was totally ignorant of the need and then just assumed it was isolated to these couple of schools. But that it was in fact much larger showed that an ongoing and also scalable approach was going to be really critical if we were going to have any sort of significant impact on what was a large and hidden issue in many respects. So we started getting bigger and we got more schools, friends of friends involved. We were sourcing sort of food from the local sort of food share outlet, Shepparton Food Share, who are amazing. We're just seeing them in action. Okay, that's a much better way to do this efficiently. And then I guess to fast forward now, so over 10 years later, element of sourcing donated food, working with incredible volunteers and dropping off the sandwiches fresh but then being frozen is really the core of how Eatup's grown. But at the heart of that is this simple idea that many hands make light work, and we want to connect with people who love their hometowns and where they live, just as I do Shepparton, and want to make a difference in their own hometowns. And that community goodwill has ultimately allowed Eatup to scale on the back of that generosity to now over 780 schools across Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland, WA and the Northern Territory. We work with incredible food donors like Wonder, who donate their bread to Eatup nationally. So I think certainly found, like if you ask people for help or broaden that opportunity for them to do so, people are really eager to get involved. So I think, people are a bit hesitant to ask for help. I think you'll find more often than not the answer is really positive. Also, in terms of, I think, getting that help is sometimes when you just make a start, like certainly in terms of Eatup, there wasn't any grand vision. Initially at home, it was just a few sandwiches, dropping them off, and you sort of build up this momentum. People see what you're doing and they're like, okay, yep, I can see how that works, that helps. And they want to help you along. And ultimately, the only reason Eatup's been able to grow now is because of the incredible support and the number of individuals and team and donors we have. That's sort of how it grows. So you certainly need this major collaboration, this collective of people for it to really genuinely have a big impact. Just making a start can be the most powerful thing you can do, because from there you're going to ideate on it more. You're going to get sort of insights back from the group you're trying to support or people you're trying to get the help of. You'll tweak it from there and it'll get stronger and stronger, and you'll start to build up that momentum to be able to gain a better understanding of those you're trying to help from that group directly, but also from others who might see what you're doing and want to get behind you and support you further.